what are you most excited for moving into this next phase of the Energon universe?
Well, I mean, I think now that we're a year in, we've been, we kind of gotten the beginning out of the way, and so we get to kind of pay off some of the things that we've been setting up, and now that we know that what we're trying to do is successful and that the fan base is on board for it, we get to make further like far-reaching plans. When I was doing The Walking Dead, by the time I got to like year 2, year 3, that's when it was like, oh, this is really working. People really like this, and we were able to plan like very far in the future and do really cool things and set them up. And we're at that point in the Energon universe. So I think you're going to see as GI Joe launches in November, as Void Rivals and Transformers continue, we're going to get deeper and deeper into this universe, introduce more characters, bring some more surprises to the forefront, and just really kind of expand on what we've built in some really cool ways.
Terrell Big Oak Media. Do you guys ever worry with the Transformer Energon universe that you kind of bump into that, man, there's just too much out there? People are going to get confused of which one we are, like, and how you've been dealing with that?
We're being very careful with making sure that the branding is always present, that the covers have a distinct look that matches. So I think if you take Void Rivals, Transformers, G.I. Joe, the multiple G.I. Joe miniseries, and you kind of put them all on a table and you look at them, they kind of look distinct from any other comics. I can see that there is some potential for confusion with Larry Hama's G.I. Joe Real American Hero continuing. But you'll see that the G.I. Joe logo on Josh and Tom's book is completely different. It has a completely different color scheme. It's not going to have the red, white, and blue. We'll reserve that just for Larry Hama. And so we're taking we're going to painstaking lengths to make sure that we keep things as simple as possible and as clear as possible. And I think that, with the many iterations of Marvel and DC movies and television shows, there's a Superman on TV, there's a Superman in this cartoon, there's a Superman in this movie. I think that the audience has kind of gotten very savvy with the fact that, the Bumblebee that you're seeing in the Michael Bay movies or the movies that have come after or in Transformers 1 is not going to be the Bumblebee that is dead in the Energon universe. So I think we're, keeping it as clear as we possibly can.
Matt, Sardo, Rob, thanks for your time.
Sure.
I come from a sports background. Are you like the GM or the head coach of the Energon universe?
Jeez. I would say that I work with Sean Lakowitz and Ben Abernathy in a GM capacity. I'm not a sports guy, so I'm kind of vamping here, but I'm pretty sure they're the guys that recruit the players and find out the salary caps and all. They work all that kind of stuff, and so we have discussions about who the best artists are to bring in, and who we'd like to get some covers from, and general direction for the universe. Sean Makowitz and I worked extensively on the Energon universe before anybody else was hired, just coming up with different plans and coming up with kind of like a universe Bible to a certain extent. And so I think that's kind of GM territory. But then coaching wise, I have a lot of talks with, especially at conventions, with Josh Williamson and Daniel Warren Johnson about what kind of mood we want to get and the kind of propulsive action storytelling we're kind of trying to do. And they're very much on the same page. It's a real collaboration. I could never say that I have any hand in the absolute awesomeness that Daniel Warren Johnson is bringing to the page on Transformers, but there's some suggestions here and there and some things that we work out. I think he talked publicly about how he and I kind of spitballed the Beachcomber moment on the moon, try to figure out how we could make that work. To be honest, I don't even remember exactly what I contributed, but we had a conversation at New York Comic Con last year while we were walking, where he was like, I kind of want to have a character that has been on Earth and has learned more about Earth. And I think I was like, oh, what if he fell out of the ship and landed on the moon? And he was like, oh, it could be on the moon, living there and kind of going crazy because he was stuck there. And so there's a lot of collaboration on that level. So I guess the long-winded way of answering that is maybe a little of both and maybe a lot of neither.
And then real quick, which one's offense, which one's defense? G.I. Joe, Transformer.
I've exhausted my awareness of sport. But no, I don't know. Offense or defense? Geez. I guess they both play both. I don't know how to answer that. I've let you down, and I'm very sorry.
Greg from the Hashtag Show. And my question is, obviously, this has been going on for close to a year, and,
Sure.
Two epic franchises, coming together. how excited were you when you actually saw this come together, and then all of a sudden did you have that moment like, wow, I just have GI Joe and Transformers just coming all to one?
Yeah, I mean, it really is, kind of unbelievable. It's when we found out that the licenses were available, we reached out to Hasbro. We kind of got in the mix. They were already talking to a bunch of different companies, and you know, it was like, oh, like maybe we could do this Void Rivals thing and kind of get the license in secret and surprise people with a Transformer showing up in an original book. And, but it seemed like unbelievable. Like, I have a lot of ideas sometimes that just never happen because they're too crazy / stupid. And so this was another one of those where it's like, that'd be nice, but I don't think it's ever going to really come together. And then every step of the way, when it was like, we'd be open to that, we'd be open to that, we might be able to do that. You get a little bit more excited, it's like, oh my gosh, this is actually going to be real. This is crazy. And then to have it like actually come out and land and for people to be responding to it the way they are, it's really gratifying and amazing. And it is just like a kind of a dream come true to be kind of adding to the mythos of these characters and to be able to work alongside Hasbro to kind of, continue these characters' legacies and do some cool things with them. It's pretty awesome. And we're having a really great time doing it, and I hope it shows in the work.
Tom, Nerd. So I have a very, very straight down the middle, both Transformer and G.I. Joe questions.
Okay.
All right. Years ago, G.I. Joe had established that there is specialist tracker on part of the team. Do you recall who he is?
Specialist Tracker?
Yep, specialist tracker. Ask me questions. There is a tracker character.
Yeah.
He's the guy that ran Mass.
Oh, Matt Tracker?
Matt Tracker.
Okay, yeah.
Now, is there going to be any opportunity to see the Matt team and then take the Transformers and make them new triple chambers in Mass style, like Cup shooting out the jet ski?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Huh, that's interesting.
RC getting the helicopter.
Yeah, I mean, look, right now we're focusing on G.I. Joe and Transformers, and I think that you can see that both of those worlds are so expansive that, like, when you add Void Rivals into the mix, we're very quickly getting to the point where we have hundreds of characters, like, between all three books. So, I love Mask. I think, it's a thing that's out there. It'd be really cool to, like, expand the Energon universe at some point. But, as of right now, I just have to say that Transformers and G.I. Joe is our focus.
Because it's so big, and we had so many Transformers and Void Rivals, when are we going to start seeing some Joes showing up?
Actually, starting with Void Rivals 13, we're going to see Pythona and some of the Royal Guard actually appearing in the Void Rival series and interacting with those characters. That's when the G.I. Joe side of the universe actually like makes its way into Void Rivals, and we're able to do that because there's no reason these like giant creature vehicles that the Cobra Law people have aren't space worthy. And we established in Josh and Andrea Milano's Cobra Commander miniseries that Cobra Law is aware of Cybertron and aware of the existence of the Transformers, and they find their technological existence an affront to their organic way of life, so they're very concerned with them, and so they send Pythona and a team of Royal Guard out into space to investigate, like, the origins of the Transformers and what their plans might be and how dangerous they may be to Cobra Law. And that's going to lead to them interacting with Skuxoid and eventually Durak and Salila and the Agorians and the Zertonians and all kinds of cool stuff. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
My language.
All right, back over here.
Yeah. So, hi, and the Comics Collective podcast. I think my first question is just, this isn't your first experience building a world before. The Walking Dead has branched out into multiple different titles. Invincible, of course, has built its own world. How has the experience working on those titles helped you build out the Energon universe, and how has it compared making a universe out of your own original concepts versus one out of properties that existed back then?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think like working with existing properties is a lot of fun. It's a little different than what I normally do. I think world building in and of itself is like the most fun that I have like in my day-to-day career, and I think that the exercise of keeping Walking Dead and Invincible going, I think has kind of like trained me to be able to do this and to kind of know the ins and outs of this because the typical trajectory for any series, let alone an original creator-owned series, is to kind of launch and then drift down and then end as the sales die. And over the course of Walking Dead and Invincible, I devised different ways to kind of tentpole the series. In both cases, and so it's writing to events, introducing new and exciting characters, trying to make sure that the story evolves and progresses in a way that invests you in learning what's coming next. It's the typical thing that you try to do to keep a TV show going for seasons. And but I think having done over 100 issues of Invincible and Walking Dead has kind of like given me like a wheelhouse of or a repertoire of different like tactics.
Yeah.
And so I do, plan on incorporating those in the Energon universe, whenever I can, because our goal ultimately is to have a Transformer series that goes hundreds of issues, a G.I. Joe series that goes hundreds of issues, a Void Rival series that goes hundreds of issues. And if those books, end up don't working, it'll be like Marvel or DC, where it's like, well, that one went 80 issues, and we'll bring another book in and try and go 100 issues with that. But we're going to try to avoid relaunches. We're going to try to avoid like extraneous miniseries or things like that. Any important thing that happens in the Transformers world will happen in the Transformers series. You're not going to have to read Transformers World on Fire 1 through 6 and then jump from issue 6 to that miniseries to then issue 7 and like try to, what's the reading order of these? The reading order is the numbers on the books. You read issue 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 and so on. So we're going to try to keep things simple and contain things in those books. And the way to do that is going to be incorporating some of those tactics that I used on Walking Dead and Invincible to keep things going.
Awesome. I'd love to hear that. Thank you.
Great.
So, obviously, everyone's very excited about G.I. Joe and Transformers. I have found Void Rivals to be incredibly interesting. I think it brings to the forefront one of my favorite parts of your books, the interpersonal dynamics. What role do you think your creator-owned book and like a smaller scale book like Void Rivals has in tying together something like the Energon universe?
I think that there's a lot of leeway with Void Rivals that doesn't exist in Transformers and G.I. Joe. There's a lot of expectations with Transformers and G.I. Joe characters. There's a lot of established like personality, mythos, character direction, things that we have to make sure that we get right. We have some leeway because it's a new continuity, but for the most part, if Optimus Prime isn't acting like Optimus Prime, people are going to be angry, and they should be. But with Void Rivals, we're able to kind of tie the universe together by having this wide open world, this canvas, if you will, where we can, do anything that the universe needs to a certain extent. And so Void Rivals is kind of constructed as like a nexus point that is going to bring all kinds of different elements of the Energon universe together at a certain point in the future. I don't want to reveal too much. I'm getting too free with what I'm saying. But yeah, it's nice to have this one book out of the 3 books where really anything goes. And if Lorenzo and I decide that we need a character to do X, Y, or Z, we can do that because there is no, television show or movie series or cartoon or toy line, and there's no like deep-seated investment in these characters that we have to be beholden to. So, good.
Awesome.
All right, back to me. So, question is like so many IPs under your belt. How do you find the time to just get anything done these days? And to with the Transformers Energon book, what is the you've had some premiere artists with a lot of your books over the years. How do you go through the process of finding like the right artists for this?
First question, I'm a broken shell of a human being, and this is the only thing that makes me happy. Second question, because this is, all I really want to do with my life. Like, I'm nose to the grindstone, like checking out Instagram, trying to find different artists. A new book comes out with new creative teams, and I'm, seeing if I think they could do this or that or whatever. I'm always trying to pay attention to the different things going on in comics, and I love comic book art, and so I get excited when I see like new pinups by people, or someone's taking over a new book at another publisher. I'm like, ooh, where'd that guy come from? Like, what's going on? Oh, she's really talented. Like, holy crap, we can do this with her or that. And so I don't know. I mean, there's some new artists that we're working with. Andrea Milana, like absolutely amazing. He was doing some stuff at Skybound before. We ended up doing Cobra Commander, but he's improved leaps and bounds, like as he's been working on various books. Tom Riley was doing stuff at Marvel, doing some really cool stuff. The Ant-Man series that I really liked, but I think that he's really coming alive in this GI Joe environment and doing the work of his career. And it's great to be able to find artists that we love, whose work excites us, and try to put them in an environment that best utilizes their talents and really gives them a platform to really shine.
Like, can you quickly explain who Alpha Trion is for like in the Energon universe?
No, because that would be spoiling things.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, there are certain iterations of Alpha Trion across the many iterations of Transformers, and to reveal exactly which iteration we would be operating with. I mean, Alpha Trion hasn't really appeared and hasn't really been mentioned. It's possibly bad that I've already revealed that there is an Alpha Trion in the Energon universe. We've dealt with a lot of Zerta Trion stuff, and it's very deliberate.
Right, you mentioned that there was another one, and
that when you hear Zerta Trion, you're supposed to be like, wait a minute, like Zerta Trion, I know Alpha Trion, like what the hell is a Zerta Trion? This doesn't make any, I don't know what this is. That's by design. So eventually we'll get more into the lore, and you'll find out exactly what aspects of the Transformers lore that we're playing with, and it should be pretty exciting. I'm very excited to get to it.
I read all
so much so that I almost spoiled things just now.